Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the very thing holding you back isn't the world, isn't your circumstances, but yourself. Every weakness you ignored, every excuse you made, every fear you avoided has been quietly shaping your life. And if you don't act, it will destroy you. Today, I want to show you how to face it, confront it, and destroy it before it destroys you. The very first step in overcoming any weakness is to recognize that it exists, and yet this is often the hardest thing for people to do. Many individuals walk through life blind to their own limitations, focusing instead on strengths, achievements, or appearances. They convince themselves that because they can perform certain tasks well, or because others admire them in some areas, their flaws don't matter. But the truth is that weaknesses, no matter how small, quietly grow if ignored, and eventually they can sabotage even the greatest talents. A weakness is like a small crack in a dam. At first, it is barely noticeable, seeps through almost imperceptibly, and you ignore it, thinking it is insignificant. But as time passes, the pressure increases, and if you don't repair it, the entire dam collapses. Your life, your career, your dreams can be that dam if you let weakness fester inside you. Recognizing your weaknesses requires courage because it demands absolute honesty with yourself. It is easier to blame circumstances, to justify failure by saying, "I just wasn't ready," or "It's not my fault," than to look in the mirror and admit, "I need to improve here, not strong enough in this area." This admission is uncomfortable, and it challenges your pride, but it is the only path to growth. Every successful person you see has gone through this process. They have stared at their flaws, sometimes painfully, and refused to let them define their lives. Acknowledgement does not mean you allow the weakness to dominate you. It means you bring it into the light. Once a weakness is visible, you can create a plan to confront it. You can decide whether it is a skill you need to develop, a habit you must break, or a mindset that needs to shift. Without acknowledgement, there is no plan, and without a plan, weakness quietly directs your choices. It can influence your decisions, the people you associate with, and even the goals you set. Ignored weaknesses do not disappear, they evolve. A small lack of patience can become an inability to lead effectively. A reluctance to speak up in meetings can turn into missed opportunities and stagnation. Avoiding self-reflection might feel safe, but it is a slow form of self-destruction. The first act of acknowledging weakness is reflection, but reflection alone is not enough. Be honest and thorough. Ask yourself questions you might have avoided. Where do I fail consistently? What makes me uncomfortable that I avoid doing? Do others see in me that I refuse to see in myself? The answers might sting. They might reveal patterns you have ignored for years. The alternative, pretending you are perfect, is far worse. Weakness hidden in denial becomes a shadow that follows you silently, shaping outcomes, eroding confidence, and limiting potential. Recognizing it means taking control. It is the moment you say to yourself, "I see it, and I will deal with it." This is not weakness. It is strength disguised as humility. By acknowledging your weaknesses, you create a foundation for improvement. You set the stage for deliberate action, for discipline, for learning. It is the first act of courage in the battle against failure. When you can look at yourself without illusions, without excuses, you arm yourself with the most powerful tool for growth. Every step you take from that point is purposeful. You no longer stumble unknowingly into situations where your flaws control the outcome. Instead, you engage life with awareness, prepared to transform what was once a limitation into a stepping stone. The recognition of weakness is not a momentary thought. It is a continuous process, long commitment to self-awareness, to honesty, and to the refusal to let anything inside you remain unchecked. Complacency is one of the most dangerous enemies a person can face because it disguises itself as comfort and contentment. Many people fall into the trap of thinking that just because they have achieved a certain level of success or stability, they are safe and nothing more is required. They stop pushing, stop questioning, and stop improving, believing that life can be managed with the same routine, the same habits, and the same mindset. But complacency is not harmless. It is a slow poison. It quietly allows weaknesses to grow, even when they are invisible, and over time, these weaknesses accumulate into major obstacles. The moment you become complacent, your skills stop evolving, your mind stops stretching, and your potential begins to shrink. A person who once had dreams and ambitions starts to settle for mediocrity, not because the world demanded it, but because they stopped demanding more of themselves. Is constantly changing. The environment around you shifts, industries evolve, technology advances, and people grow. If you do not move forward, you fall behind. Complacency creates the illusion of stability, but in reality, it is a setup for failure. While you are comfortable, others are learning, adapting, and gaining advantages that will surpass anything you once thought secure. The danger lies in the subtlety of complacency. It often begins as a small sense of satisfaction, whisper that says, "This is good enough." It might feel safe, even deserved, but the next step is predictable excuses, avoidance, and neglect. Small weaknesses that could have been corrected when they were minor are now magnified, and suddenly, the very foundation you relied on starts to crack. Complacency is also deceptive because it makes criticism hard to hear. When you believe you are already doing well, feedback becomes unnecessary, even threatening. You stop seeking guidance, stop listening, and stop learning. In doing so, you unknowingly create a gap between yourself and the opportunities that could have elevated your life. The danger of complacency is not just external, it is internal. It is a quiet surrender of ambition, a slow retreat from the fight required to grow and succeed. People who allow themselves to settle gradually lose confidence because they are no longer testing themselves, no longer overcoming challenges, longer proving what they are capable of. Every time you choose ease over effort, you reinforce the habit of avoidance, and weaknesses strengthen in the shadows. Complacency is the breeding ground for regret. Later in life, you may look back and realize that nothing catastrophic happened to stop you, yet you failed to rise because you became comfortable with what was familiar. Your limitations did not force you to stay small, your complacency did. Awareness of this danger is the key to breaking free. To avoid it, you must constantly challenge yourself, push boundaries, and refuse to accept what is merely adequate. Requires discomfort. Learning requires mistakes, and mastery requires relentless effort. Complacency disguises itself as safety, but in truth, it is the slow erosion of potential. Every successful person understands that life is not static, and no achievement can be maintained without vigilance. The only way to resist the danger of complacency is to remain curious, hungry, and willing to face challenges head-on, to recognize that the moment you feel comfortable is the moment you are most at risk, and to act with urgency before the silent threat of stagnation destroys what you have built. Self-discipline is the tool that transforms intention into action, dreams into reality, and potential into achievement. It is the invisible force that separates those who merely wish for success from those who create it. Without self-discipline, even the most talented person can fall behind. The consistent effort of a disciplined individual often surpasses raw talent over time. Many people underestimate the power of self-discipline because it is quiet, invisible, requires sacrifice. It does not come with immediate gratification or applause. It asks for delayed rewards, repeated effort, and unwavering commitment. The challenge is that self-discipline is not glamorous. It is daily repetition, focus, and resilience in the face of distractions, laziness, and excuses. Yet it is precisely this quality that destroys weaknesses before they have a chance to destroy you. Every weakness is a small vulnerability waiting for an opportunity to grow. Without self-discipline, weaknesses remain unchecked. Habits go unexamined, distractions take control, and small failures compound into larger setbacks. Self-discipline allows you to recognize these weak points and take deliberate steps to strengthen them. It creates a framework where you can consistently work on improvement rather than leaving your growth to chance. Discipline is not about punishing yourself or adhering to rigid rules out of fear. It is about training your mind and body to act with intention, to prioritize what truly matters, to resist what is irrelevant or harmful. It is about doing the hard things even when you do not feel like doing them, because you understand that long-term results always outweigh temporary comfort. People often confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is fleeting. It fluctuates with mood, circumstance, and excitement. Discipline, however, persists when motivation fades. Challenges arise when fatigue sets in, when the temptation to quit whispers in your ear. Self-discipline is the force that keeps you moving forward. It is the armor that protects your ambitions from being destroyed by weakness. Discipline shapes character. It teaches patience, focus, and resilience. Transforms inconsistent effort into consistent progress. Every hour you dedicate to improving yourself, every habit you refine, every time you resist the easy path, you are reinforcing your ability to overcome weakness. Self-discipline is also freedom because it allows you to control your actions rather than being controlled by impulses, fears, external circumstances. The more disciplined you become, the less vulnerable you are to procrastination, poor decisions, or reactive behavior that strengthens weaknesses. To wield self-discipline as a weapon, you must understand that it is not a one-time effort but a lifestyle. It is waking up early to learn, practicing skills even when tired, saying no to distractions, and holding yourself accountable when no one else is watching. It requires building systems, routines, and habits that support growth and eliminate the opportunities for weaknesses to dominate. People who master self-discipline understand that the hardest battle is often within themselves. They confront laziness, fear, and comfort with deliberate action. They know that success is not luck or talent alone, but the product of repeated choices made with focus, intention, and persistence. Weakness is a natural part of being human. Self-discipline ensures that weakness never becomes permanent. It turns vulnerability into opportunity, limitation into growth, and uncertainty into confidence. The power of self-discipline lies in its cumulative effect. Every small, disciplined action compounds over time, eroding weaknesses before they have the chance to erode your life, your ambitions, or your dreams. Without it, potential remains unrealized, and without it, even the strongest intentions are powerless against the quiet, relentless force of unchecked weakness. Challenges are the proving ground for strength, the crucible where weaknesses are tested, and either defeated or allowed to grow stronger. Many people fear challenges because they are uncomfortable, unpredictable, and demanding. They require effort, persistence, and courage, and often come with the risk of failure. Yet challenges are not enemies. They are opportunities disguised as obstacles. Life does not wait for anyone to be ready. Opportunities come clothed in difficulties, and growth comes through facing what seems impossible rather than avoiding it. Weakness, if left unchallenged, becomes a silent predator, quietly shaping decisions and limiting potential. Challenges force weaknesses into the light. They expose gaps in skill, knowledge, mindset that cannot remain hidden when the pressure is on. A person who consistently avoids challenges may feel safe in the short term, but in doing so, they allow their weaknesses to operate unchecked, controlling outcomes without ever revealing themselves. When you embrace challenges, you do more than confront external obstacles. You confront yourself. You discover where fear lives, where hesitation holds you back, and where effort has been insufficient. Every challenge is a mirror, reflecting the areas that need attention and growth. The first step in embracing challenges is mindset. You must see difficulties not as punishments or barriers, but as teachers, as necessary experiences that shape resilience, skill, and character. This mindset shift changes the way you approach life, transforming fear into curiosity, resistance into determination, and weakness into actionable insight. Challenges push you beyond comfort zones, and it is outside these zones that real growth occurs. Weakness cannot survive in the fire of consistent effort under pressure. A lack of patience, a gap in knowledge, or hesitation in decision-making cannot remain hidden when life demands action. And every time you confront difficulty, you force yourself to adapt, learn, and strengthen. People often underestimate their capacity to overcome. They see challenges and assume they are too large, too complex, or too risky. The truth is that each challenge conquered builds confidence and momentum. The first time you tackle something difficult, it may feel overwhelming, but the next time, you approach it with more preparation, more insight, and more courage. Challenges create a cycle of improvement, a process where weaknesses are tested, confronted, and diminished, and strengths are reinforced and expanded. Embracing challenges also cultivates resilience. Life will inevitably throw situations beyond your control, setbacks you cannot avoid, and failures you cannot predict. By willingly facing challenges in controlled ways, you build the mental toughness necessary to navigate the unavoidable struggles of life. Train your mind to persist when pressure is high, to act when fear is present, and to learn when the outcome is uncertain. Who shy away from challenges miss this crucial training. They may avoid short-term discomfort, but they are unprepared for long-term trials, and their weaknesses continue to grow silently, undermining success without warning. True growth and mastery require engagement with what is difficult, unfamiliar, and uncomfortable. Challenges strip away illusions of competence and force action. They compel you to confront hesitation, overconfidence, and lack of skill. Every challenge you face and overcome chips away at weakness and builds the foundation for confidence, competence, and achievement. Embracing challenges is not about seeking unnecessary risk. It is about refusing to allow fear and weakness to dictate your choices. It is about recognizing that every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, to refine skill, and to prepare for even greater trials ahead. Through challenges, weaknesses are revealed and destroyed, and through them, character and capability are forged. Continuous learning and growth are the essential mechanisms by which weaknesses are transformed into strengths and potential is realized. Life is constantly changing, and the skills, knowledge, and mindset that serve you today may not be sufficient tomorrow. The world does not pause for anyone, and stagnation is the greatest enemy of progress. Weakness often emerges from gaps in understanding, outdated habits, or limited perspectives, and the only way to overcome it is to actively seek improvement. It is not merely acquiring information. It is the deliberate effort to expand your abilities, sharpen your mind, and refine your character. Growth is not accidental. It is intentional. People who neglect continuous learning often find themselves outpaced by others, caught in circumstances they cannot control, and limited by weaknesses they could have addressed. To engage in continuous learning means to embrace humility, because it requires acknowledging that no matter how skilled, talented, experienced you are, there is always more to know, more to practice, and more to understand. It requires curiosity, the desire to explore beyond comfort zones, to ask questions, and to challenge assumptions about yourself and the world. Growth also demands persistence, because meaningful development is rarely instant. Weaknesses that have existed for years cannot be removed with a single effort. They require repeated focus, trial, error, and adaptation. Every lesson learned, every new skill acquired, every perspective gained chips away at weakness, gradually transforming limitation into capability. Learning does not occur only in formal settings or through structured courses. It happens every day through observation, experience, reflection, and application. The person who reads, experiments, seeks feedback, and applies knowledge grows exponentially compared to someone who waits passively for improvement to happen, is amplified when combined with self-discipline, because knowledge alone is not sufficient, it must be acted upon. A weak communication skill, a lack of leadership ability, gaps in technical expertise cannot be overcome by awareness alone. Continuous learning bridges the gap between recognition and action, equipping you with tools to confront weaknesses head-on. The mindset of continuous growth also transforms failure from a source of discouragement into a source of insight. Every mistake becomes a lesson, every setback an opportunity to identify areas for development. Weakness is not eradicated by avoiding errors, but by studying them, learning from them, and taking deliberate steps to improve. People who commit to lifelong learning understand that growth is not linear. Progress often comes in waves, sometimes imperceptible, sometimes sudden. Patience, persistence, and reflection are required to ensure that the efforts invested today compound into significant improvement over time. Also requires adaptability. What worked in the past may no longer be effective, and weaknesses can evolve into new challenges if you fail to update your skills and mindset. Continuous learning keeps you flexible, prepared, and capable of responding to change rather than being overwhelmed by it. By investing in yourself daily, seeking knowledge, refining abilities, and embracing new experiences, you gradually erode weaknesses that once limited you. Growth becomes a shield against stagnation, force that ensures weakness never becomes permanent, and a vehicle for realizing potential that might otherwise remain hidden. The person committed to continuous learning and growth is always moving forward, always strengthening, always adapting, always preparing for the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. In this way, learning and growth are not optional. They are essential weapons in the fight against weakness, ensuring that what could have destroyed you instead becomes the foundation for your strength, resilience, and ultimate success. Action over excuses is the principle that separates those who achieve from those who only dream. Weakness often thrives not because of lack of ability, but because of hesitation, procrastination, or the endless justification of inaction. Every excuse, no matter how small or convincing, is a barrier that allows weakness to persist and grow stronger. People often wait for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, or a sign from the universe, believing that action without certainty is dangerous or foolish. In reality, waiting for perfection is the luxury of those who are willing to let opportunities slip through their fingers. Life rewards those who act decisively, even in uncertainty, punishes hesitation because the window for growth and success is never guaranteed. Excuses are seductive because they make us feel safe. They allow us to protect our ego, avoid discomfort, and maintain the illusion that we are trying or caring without taking meaningful steps forward. The danger is that while we are constructing elaborate justifications, weaknesses continue to control our outcomes. Habits go uncorrected, skills remain underdeveloped, and dreams are postponed indefinitely. Action, on the other hand, is the antidote to weakness. Every deliberate step you take, no matter how small, disrupts the power that limitation holds over you. Action transforms intention into reality, you from contemplation to execution, and from vulnerability to control. The person who chooses action over excuses demonstrates accountability. They refuse to blame circumstances, other people, or timing for their lack of progress. Instead, they accept responsibility for outcomes, recognizing that consistent effort is the only way to conquer weaknesses and create meaningful change. Taking action requires courage because it involves risk, effort, possibility of failure. It demands that you confront fears, discomfort, and uncertainty directly rather than hiding behind rationalizations. The more you act, the more experience you gain, the sharper your skills become, and the more resilient you grow. Weakness cannot survive in the presence of sustained action. Each step forward challenges limitations, strengthens capability, and builds confidence. Excuses often mask fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of change can paralyze even the most capable individuals. Action is the weapon that cuts through fear. It does not eliminate risk. It diminishes the control that fear has over decision-making and growth. The habit of acting immediately, decisively, and consistently becomes a compounding force. Small, purposeful actions accumulate, creating momentum that propels you forward. Weakness, left unchecked by hesitation or justification, gradually loses its influence because you are no longer allowing it to dictate your choices. Action over excuses also cultivates a mindset of problem solving. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable are approached with determination and creativity. When you act, you learn from mistakes, adjust strategies, and refine your approach. Every failure becomes an opportunity to improve rather than a reason to stop or make excuses. Excuses delay results and stunt personal development, while action accelerates learning and mastery. Life does not reward intention alone. It rewards those who implement, who push, and who refuse to be immobilized by fear, comfort, or doubt. By consistently choosing action over excuses, you create a habit of progress, a rhythm of achievement, a track record of overcoming weaknesses before they have a chance to destroy you. Action transforms weakness into experience, hesitation into momentum, potential into accomplishment. Those who succeed understand that excuses are optional, but action is mandatory if you want to move beyond limitations, confront weaknesses, and create a life of purpose, strength, and results. Weakness is not your enemy, ignoring it is. Every flaw, every hesitation, every excuse left unchallenged has the power to control your life. But the good news is that you are stronger than any weakness, more capable than any fear, and determined than any obstacle. Face it, confront it, and destroy it with action, discipline, and relentless growth. When you do, you don't just survive, you rise, you achieve, and you become the person you were always meant to be.